Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Harrisburg City Council Legislative Session, March 25th, 2015. Council members, please put all your electronic devices away. I am calling this meeting to order at 6:05. Mr. Petrosky, please do the roll call.
Mr. Allett?
Present.
Mr. Baltimore?
Here.
Ms. Daniels?
Here.
Mr. Kaplinski?
Present.
Ms. Reed?
Here.
Ms. Wilson?
Here.
Ms. Williams?
Here. Invocation, Mr. Allett.
If you all could please take a moment of silence and think of those, even in the month of March and cold and are homeless and in need. And if we could also keep in our thoughts and prayers the Smith family with the recent passing of Ivan. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Allett. Moving on, Mr. Kaplinski, pledge allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And thank you, Mr. Kaplinski. Moving on to communications, we have none this evening. Moving on to courtesy of the floor. I'll start to my right. Anyone who'd like to come to the mic, please do so now.
Hello. My name is Lenore Smith. I'm a Harrisburg resident, and I'm here to ask you not to approve Resolution 9-2015, if that includes a reallocation to pay the parking people $200,000 if they don't get the right monies. And the reason is this. When that deal was made, everybody that mattered, except the city council, because you guys walked away, was at the table for that deal. The county approved it, the state approved it, the Chamber of Commerce approved it, and I don't remember any business people from this area coming down here telling you not to approve it. So, if they made a bad deal, that's on them. If you have money to reallocate to fix our potholes. That benefits everybody, the people in the city, the people that come into the city for services. These guys made a bad deal, they should go to the bank, get it refinanced. Or these businesses down here could offer an incentive. The first drink free if you got your receipt, free appetizers, they can do something like that. I'm asking you to vote no. And when I was leaving, I told my neighbors, I'm going to Harrisburg City Council meeting, and I told them what it was about. They said, yeah, that's right, tell them. Thank you.
You're welcome, Ms. Smith. Anyone else to my right, please?
Good evening. My name is Mr. Boyd. Probably called one of the ugliest people on the streets of Harrisburg this evening. It's such a dishonor to look in your faces. 1 year, exactly 1 year and 5 days, Honorable President of City Council, you said to me, whenever we have the meeting of the task force, I'll let you know. Summer, spring, fall, and winter, rain and snow. Madam President, I'm still waiting.
Okay.
Today, as things see that the political machine in this great city, which is called the Capitol, I still say to you once again, filth, dirty, urine, feces, name-calling, walking through the Broad Street Market, which they sold our people as slaves. I'm still waiting. Once again, I will always say about the city of Harrisburg, I'm not from Louisiana, I'm not from Georgia, I'm not from Pittsburgh, I'm from here. And for you to keep bringing people to this great city and so also a mayor that comes from another state, that we cannot even get together to save something and honor our people of this great city, white, black, Puerto Rican, Asian, to get the Broad Street Market back where it needs to be. I am still in denial, and I can still look in your faces and say, when will it be? And once again, about potholes, the mayor, God bless him, look at him. Seems like he's going to get his way again. Every time we look in the city of Harrisburg, it looks like this council is weaning. They're on the fence. Look at Allison Hill. Look at Uptown Harrisburg. Look at the filth, the dirt. You can't even walk through the streets without a pothole. But parking is more important. Have a good evening.
Thank you. Anyone else to my right? Anyone in the middle?
Good evening, honored council member and Mayor Papenfus. Jeremy Domenico, Allison Hill, South Allison Hill. Briefly, I'd like to thank those council members who invested their personal time to participate in the trash cleanup on Mulberry Street. We were able to clear all the trash from both sides of the street as well as a city-owned lot in less than 20 minutes with 12 contractor bags full of trash removed. It is this attitude of giving of ourselves for a greater cause that will return Harrisburg to its once lofty stature. Recently, a citywide residents meeting was conducted with representatives from most of the neighborhoods in Harrisburg. A poll was taken of what each neighborhood felt were three major concerns, and when all the votes were tallied, trash and the enforcement thereof, blight, and crime stood unanimously as issues that crossed racial, economic, and social differences. I posed this question: who's responsible? We are. All of us here are responsible in that we have allowed this to happen. So now we have to be responsible, think outside of our own comfort level, and together clean up this mess. South Allison Hill, the largest population in Harrisburg with the highest poverty level, has come together to collectively reclaim more trash and recover more discarded covered electronics, 3 times of all of Harrisburg combined. With zero money from the city, no funding. And with Mulberry Square notwithstanding, the stigma of merely the words Allison Hill supersedes seemingly everything positive that we've accomplished. With the huge voting bloc potential of Allison Hill, one would think that a mad rush would be on to convince South Allison Hill residents that we matter and not just at election time. I didn't think the politics would reach as low as the trash on the ground, but let me set the scenario and you can formulate your own opinion. Last year for the Great Harrisburg Cleanup, we had more trash than the incinerator could handle, and we had an adequate number of dumpsters. This year for the Great Harrisburg Litter Cleanup, Laxwama waived the tipping fees for 10 dumpsters and is staying open later to accommodate this cleanup, yet as of today, only 3 dumpsters for the entire city have been donated. Trash haulers are upset about the old, new trash guidelines governing trash in Harrisburg, and the apparent backlash is, excuse me, screw your city. So I asked this honorable council and the honorable mayor, as well as anyone that believes in this city, to kindly make a donation, sponsor a dumpster, and/or give of your time so that the gracious donation for Laxwama and the opportunity to make a measurable difference in our city will not be lost because of politics or any other reason. Give the citizenry of Harrisburg the means with which to pursue our own responsibilities. Any interested parties can see me after this legislative session for a sponsor donation sheet, and thank you again, especially those that gave you your time. Thank you.
You're welcome. Moving on, please. Anyone else in the middle? Anyone to my left? Thank you. Moving on to approval of minutes, approval of legislative session minutes of March 10th, 2015. Any deletions, omissions, corrections? Hearing none, can I get approval, please? In a motion?
So moved.
Second, thank you. Minutes will stand as approved. Reports of committees, report from Chair Allett on the Budget and Finance Committee meeting of March 23rd, 2015. Mr. Allett, are you ready for your report?
Yes. On Monday, we had a joint committee meeting of Budget and Finance as well as Parks and Rec. In the Budget and Finance portion of the committee, we discussed Resolution 9 of 2015 and Resolution 16 of 2015. Resolution 9 of 2015 is a resolution approving the first proposed 2015 budget reallocations. I will try to give a brief summary of each of the allocations, and I do understand that we are going to suspend the rules later for some discussion. As such, I will just give a highlight. Of the proposed reallocations include allocation for the Protect Harrisburg Legal Defense Fund, an allocation for purchasing a recycling truck, allocation for a walk-to-work fund, allocation for training and contributions for a fire expo, an adjustment to a salary for a deputy fire chief. I wanted to make particular note, this is an increase in salary on paper. However, it's a decrease in salary because this is an internal promotion, and the individual is going to be moved from an hourly wage to a salary, and the salary proposed is actually going to end up being a reduction in total cost to the city. In addition to that, there is the proposal for the parking. This is a $285,000 guarantee if revenue is not met, to propose a discount in the, for several hours, as well as a 4-hour discount based on using Pango for Saturday hours. This is something that the residents have asked for some help, for some alleviation of the pain of the parking. The city has stepped up to offer this as a proposal. This is something that the authority has agreed to. The hope is that there's no money that would actually have to change hands as long as the numbers are met through the proposed reduction in the rates provided. Moving on to Resolution 16. This is simply a resolution approving a professional services agreement with Trout, Ebersol, and Groff, LLP CPAs and business advisors, to conduct a reconciliation of the city workers' compensation liability, compensated absence liability, and post-employment benefit obligation accounts. And I would ask that my colleagues vote in favor of both resolutions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Allett. Moving on to report from Chair Wilson on the Parks, Recreation, and Enrichment Committee meeting of March 23rd, 2015. Mr. Wilson, are you ready for your report?
Yes, I am. Parks and Recreation and Enrichment Committee held a meeting on Monday, March 23rd. From the administration was Mr. Wayne Martin, the engineer, and Kevin Sanders. It was a resolution approving the professional services contract with the aquatic facility design to prepare sealed plans for the technical specifications dealing with the City Pool 2 for the pool's expansion joints and the sandblasting and painting that is needed of the main and the waiting pools. It's a cost of the contract is $3,900, and of course there's an additional the contract for professional services are exempt from public bidding and requirements as stated in Pennsylvania law. So there's also additional work that will be done down the road, but we're looking for full support on this, and so that's my report, and I appreciate the attendance and involvement from the administration. Thank you.
You're welcome. Moving on to ordinance for first reading, we have none this evening. Ordinance for amendment, we have none as well. Ordinance for final passage, we have none. Moving on to resolutions. Resolution 8 of 2015. Mr. Petrosky, please read that into record.
Resolution 8 of 2015 was moved by Ms. Wilson, seconded by Ms. Williams. It's a resolution approving a professional services contract with Aquatic Facility Design, INC, to prepare sealed plans and technical specifications for restructuring of City Pool 2, main pool expansion joints, and sandblasting and painting of the main and waiting pools.
Any questions or comments on Resolution 8?
Nope.
Hearing none, please call the vote.
Mr. Allett?
Yes.
Mr. Baltimore?
Yes.
Ms. Daniels?
Yes.
Mr. Kaplinski?
Yes.
Ms. Reed?
No.
Ms. Wilson?
Yes.
Ms. Williams?
Yes.
Resolution 8 passes.
Thank you. Please read Resolution 9 of 2015 into record.
Resolution 9 of 2015, as amended, is moved by Mr. Allett, second by Mr. Baltimore. It's a resolution approving the first proposed 2015 budget reallocations.
Motion to suspend the rules, please.
So moved.
Have a second? Second. Okay. There's some questions regarding issues with the budget reallocation. At this time, I'm opening up the floor for any questions.
I have one not on the parking first. Not on the parking, I have one on the parking, but on the 902 grant, we have allocated for the last 2 years to purchase a recycling truck and a leaf collecting machine. Out of the previous 902 grants, and it's been in the budget for the last 2 years, why are we now including it again? And I see that you put a Packer on here, but out of the previous 902 grants, we should have already had a leaf collector for the last 2 years. and a recycling truck. They were already approved. They were in the 2014 approved budget, the 2015 approved budget, and if I'm not mistaken, the 2013 approved budget.
What appendix are you on, Miss?
This is B.
Okay, thank you.
It might be A. It's A at the bottom.
Okay. Appendix A, okay.
This is, I think, just an allocation of the money we were awarded. You can't,
Yeah.
so the money awarded that we didn't have has to be put into the budget so it can be spent.
I understand that, but my question is that the reasoning doesn't make sense when we were already supposed to purchase two of the specific items. I understand the way it works. You have to put it into the budget, but, you know, when you're saying that you're purchasing something that we should already purchase,
My understanding, and this is because I was not, definitely not in 2013, is that we put in the budget assuming we were going to purchase it, but there was never a grant agreement in place to do so. And so obviously without that, there was no way to actually make that purchase.
we had allocated several other times. I'll look back at it and bring you up to speed, but we did allocate, I know, two specific other times for leaf collecting machine and the recycling truck. Those two specifically.
There was actually, there's a multi-part that was passed earlier this year on two of these vehicles for the grant application. I think what we allocated was our contribution, but the machines cost more than our contribution.
No, they don't.
That is my understanding.
Okay, they don't.
Well,
That's all I had on that one.
okay, I was going to say, Mr. Johnson is not here tonight. He cannot address that, so maybe we, Neil, if you would get that information back to Mr. Johnson, have him,
I will get- I'll-
Ms.
I'll- we'll
Ms.
get the
Reed, to
information.
identify what grants we do have or what we applied for and what was in the budget.
Because we should have already had them last year, and if we're just now reallocating, we should be in a position where we shouldn't be repurchasing the same equipment. This equipment should already be purchased. We should already have this equipment on hand. It's from last year's budget.
Okay.
You know, and it seems as though we're still delaying getting Public Works the correct equipment by saying, oh, well, we'll purchase it. Well, you were supposed to purchase it 2 years ago.
Okay.
No, you didn't have the
I'm sorry, wait a minute, excuse me. Go ahead, Mr. Weber.
I mean, we wanted to allocate assuming it was going to happen. My understanding that the grant agreement it's still, we don't actually still have it back yet, in fact. You know, we're still waiting for the paperwork from DEP. So my understanding it's really was a holdup in the state side. But
We get this 902 grant every year.
yeah, this is larger. Normally that's a 50,000, I believe, allocation.
more than that.
It is? Okay, I'll have to look. I'm not saying I'm familiar with that, but, you know, this is something we've been working through the process last year, and it's taken a very long time to get it all finalized through legal here and then as well as the state. And it's still not back. We don't really actually have the grant agreement fully executed on their side yet. We're still waiting for that. So,
That's all I have.
Okay, we just respond back to Ms. Reed tomorrow, if you can, please. Investigate that and find out.
What is the question exactly?
The question is we should have already purchased the leaf collection vehicle and the recycling truck.
Mayor, please come to the mic.
We have wanted to purchase it, and we have had the application in for the grant. Yes. But the money still hasn't come from the state to the city to purchase the equipment. And now we know that it's going to come in the form of money that has to go into the budget and then out again from us, as opposed to them purchasing the equipment and, sort of handing over the equipment in that manner.
I do understand
So-
what you're saying about this particular grant money,
Yes.
but the monies that were allocated prior to this were moved from the host fee. There was money moved last year from the host fee, and there was money also put into the budget for these two same items. That's the only thing I'm saying, is that these items should have already been purchased last year.
There was a truck that was purchased through the host fee. That is a separate truck from this truck. There are multiple recycling trucks that are being purchased. That truck was purchased through the host fee. This is a grant that we've been waiting for quite some time. I agree. I understand that. But we are finally close to receiving it, and we know it's going to come to the city as essentially a cash grant, and then we have to spend that money on the truck. So you have to authorize that. We didn't know that beforehand, but we've got it. So it's all very positive. It's everything that everyone has wanted. It's not like it's been spent already or anything like that. It's just that this is further authorization so that when we do finally get the money now from DEP, that we can spend it on the truck. Sometimes these grants take a lot longer than we'd like.
It wasn't
you know,
from
we've
this
been
grant that the trucks were allocated. That's what I'm saying. I know all about the 902 grant. I'm not,
There was a separate recycling truck that came out of the host fee.
Yes, we did get
Separate
one.
one, and we purchased that. We needed
but the leaf
multiple.
collection machine.
Leaf
still
collection
don't.
machine was not through the
It was-
host fee.
But 2 years ago, we were supposed to have a leaf collection machine. Last year, we were supposed to have a leaf collection machine. Here we are again with it on this.
Well, this is
thing,
the
leaf
same,
collection.
this is the same leaf collection machine as last year. We applied for the money last year, but we are now in the position to actually almost have received the money. So we are just ready to, we want to be able to spend it the minute we get it. That's what this is about. I don't know what happened 2 years ago,
I don't
but
want to belabor it, so.
I think this is all positive, and we're going to be getting the machine soon. I wish we could have gotten it sooner. There are other grants that have taken a lot longer than we would like. There's a PennDOT grant and other things that we're still waiting for. They've taken months and months and months, despite having been promised last year. Some of this is in the transition between administrations, I think, on the state government's part. But bottom line is, from council standpoint, you approved applying for the grant. Correct, but now you're approving actually spending the money, and that's why it's in this particular line item.
Okay. Is there justification? Yeah?
I'll let it go.
Okay. Mr. Weber, just get back with her with that information, please. And also, maybe touch base with Mr. Johnson and find out if we did utilize that money for the leaf blower. He's indicating that we did. Okay? Anything else, Ms. Reed?
On that one, I'm fine with that one. Only other one I have is, I have a question on the Walk to Work program. I just request that the Walk to Work program, the deputy chief fire salary, and the parking subsidy to be voted on individually. The Walk to Work program, I am going to be a no vote because I was the only no vote on making the residency not a requirement. I believe if you live in the city, you should work in the city, and we should not be subsidizing you to move back into the city that you benefit from financially by working here. So I will not be supporting that. And why are we increasing the deputy salary, deputy fire chief salary? Right after we just approved the budget. This could have been approved in the budget, and when we bought the exact same argument about the police officers' increase in salary at the end of the budget year last year, you didn't want to increase the budget, so I will not be approving that either, because this is within the first quarter of your approved budget, and this should have been in your approved budget, so I will not be approving that. And subsidizing the, I will be a no vote on subsidizing the parking, because when you want to subsidize something, when I walk up and down alleys every single day, and they're overrun with trash, and it's about, spring's about to break, and these kids are about to be let out of school with no programs to go to, I'd rather see you subsidize getting the city cleaned up first, and then worry about the people that come out to party. Because you're subsidizing people to party, but yet people that live in the city, that live in neighborhoods that are overrun with trash, and they have to deal with trash and potholes and houses and blight, that's what you need to be subsidizing. The people that actually live here and the people that actually pay the taxes here. Yes, they pay taxes when they party and they go to the bars and stuff, and yes, it brings revenue into the city, but we do have 50,000 residents that live in neighborhoods that are overrun with trash. So if you want to subsidize something, and we got this kind of money to subsidize, then we should be out there cleaning up our streets every single day. So I will be a no vote on that. So I would appreciate if those three would be brought up separately.
One point, the fire chief, you understand that that is actually a reduction in what that person's paying because it's an internal promotion.
I'm sorry, you might
No,
want to
this
speak
is
up a little
the
bit.
assistant fire
the
chief.
assistant.
This is
Yes.
deputy fire chief.
Excuse me,
Correct.
everybody can't talk at one time.
The
Mr. Allen, would
deputy-
you just identify what that is, please?
Correct. The deputy fire chief is an internal promotion into that role. The salary is an adjustment. The overall payment to that individual is going to be less now that they moved in salary because now they're not hourly and getting paid overtime. So it's actually a smaller allocation of funds to that role.
And actually, a savings to the overall budget for fire as well, because by making an internal promotion, it frees up another space to make a hire, and you're hiring then, rather than bringing somebody in at the 66, you're really bringing somebody in now at the starting salary as a cadet at the fire academy. So you're saving in two ways there.
Again, with this being at the beginning of your budget year, this could have simply been added to your 2015 budget, and you did not, so.
Sandra, you couldn't add it to the budget year because this is a promotion for it's a promotional opportunity. It's just like the chief. When we brought him in, he was making more than $100,000. He
Yes,
decided to
overtime.
accept the job. He went down to 80. This gentleman is making an adjustment from 100,000 down to 70. It's saving the city.
And they conducted a national search
Yeah.
for the deputy chief. They interviewed a variety of very well-qualified outside candidates that we could have brought in, but it was the chief's decision to promote from within, and it seems to make smart fiscal sense. But that couldn't have been foreseen
Yeah.
until after the interview process. And I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have about walk to work or the parking, if there were any questions.
I'm quite certain my other colleagues have questions on it also, so I want to relinquish the floor.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else?
Okay. Thank you, Madam President. Have a couple, I guess, checks on the Appendix G, which relates to the hotel tax revenue fund being transferred to the marketing promotional activity fund line item. We're certainly for making sure that these rates go down and appreciate the administration's work regarding this. I want to make sure that there's a couple of checks there to make sure that Standard and Trimont work with the city in providing the information in the most efficient and way that they can, so we know where the numbers are as we go through the process. So I put forth some thoughts, and I did speak with Mr. Grover about it, but if you gentlemen can confirm, essentially that if we're looking at the period from April of 2014 to December of 2014, and the commiserate period is April of 2015 to December of 2015, we need to know that number, I believe, of what that number was in 14 now.
We do.
So we know what that basis
It's
number is.
$285,000.
Okay, so that was the original
Yes.
basis number.
That's the full number, yeah.
Very good.
We have it by month as well.
Okay, and so, making sure that we just don't get a bill in January is pretty important as well. So I think it's important, and I spoke with the controller, that they provide, the administration and the controller keep track of the amount of money that comes in on a rolling basis, whether that's monthly or every 2 weeks, or what's the setup for that, John?
Right, and they have not specified whether they want to do a true-up on a monthly basis or on a bi-monthly basis or every 3 months. That has not been specified. What and we're flexible on that, but we agree, obviously, that there has to be clear reporting. The baseline is there. We have the monthly revenues. That's how we got to the 285. We know what we're starting with. We know what came in April of last year and every month from last year. The question is how we're going to do the true-up. And we would be very pleased to have a member of council sit in on that true-up along with the controller and the finance director so that we can all be confident in the numbers and in the process. I'd be happy to have Madam President do that if she'd like, as she's on the Parking Advisory Committee, or you could designate a council member to do it. But the controller will look at the numbers, the finance will look at the numbers, we'll look at the numbers, and we will have confidence in them before any payment is made.
Very good. And I would urge that it come in a shorter, smaller bites per month, as opposed to even quarterly or at the end of the year.
We're
And I know
talking about
you'll
monthly,
work
yeah,
it through, but
yeah.
I think that's important.
Yep.
And I know it's clearly that we have skin in the game as far as the 285,000, and if we go over that amount, where's the skin in Standard Parking's
Well, we can't go
game
over the
at this
amount,
point?
right? So the 285 is the total amount that came into the system last year.
Right.
So if nothing comes into the system under the current plan, that is the total maximum amount that we would be out. But people are going to continue to pay for park in the city of Harrisburg, even with this. And what I would say to Lenora Smith and to others is that this is a controlled experiment to see if lowering rates will create more parkers for the system. This sort of elasticity of demand concept is one that I believe in, I think we can see, and I think it could lead to further rate reductions throughout the whole system. We all see at various times that there are plenty of parking spaces out there. Why not try a lower rate and see if we can get more people to come in and park? We are allowing the system to experiment in that way by giving the flexibility, by giving this guarantee. But, and it really wouldn't happen without us. And we're the ones that have the skin in the game, basically. The city benefits by having a healthy parking system in which people come in and frequent the city, frequent our businesses, and contribute to the system. Right now, the system is breaking even. It's paying the bondholders back. It's working in that design. It's giving us parking taxes, but it is not providing the surplus at the end, which would go directly to the city. So we're trying to sort of protect our own investment here. If the system falls apart, the bondholders are still going to get paid. The system's not going to disappear, but what's going to happen is the city's payments, which come at the very end, would be in jeopardy.
And we know that we sat, and not to say that we know that, but we're very clear in that we knew that and fought for the Harrisburg bucket, as Mr. Weber knows because he was on council, that the Harrisburg bucket be bumped up a couple of steps so that trickle down effect, would get to Harrisburg sooner, and so that the haircut that we urged Wall Street to take, would really have some effect. But again, it seems as though Wall Street, I'm not sure they're playing us, but I want to know where really, and I don't think you have an answer necessarily, where their skin is, and that if we make more from this, we're taking a chance out there. We should be able to get a benefit if we get more than the $285,000.
Well,
and I know that we
yeah.
will if it trickles down.
That's how we
But we should get a larger part of that stake. And I don't think Standard's doing enough in that regard to make sure that that happens. And I do commend you on your comments yesterday to the PEDFA board regarding cutting costs as well. That's one way to do it as well. But again, that's got to trickle down to in a bigger than a trickle, let's just say, a flood into the city more than what the current status is.
Well, and I just want I agree, with a lot of you, and I just feel like this is one of those things that us not doing anything or acting on this is not helping where we've been, and we all know how many complaints we get about parking on a regular basis, and I think that, Council President has mentioned that we can get a meeting, hopefully, with them, and I think that would be a good thing because, as I mentioned on Monday, that it is not just, obviously, the discounts that can go into effect, and that's all for naught if they don't improve on their customer service and on their commitment to being a better partner with the residents and the businesses in our community. So it's just one of those things I think we can hopefully have a conversation, and when we have that meeting, hopefully, we can get them to agree to more things. And I know Councilmember Daniels has mentioned that, they should do more for our seniors, and they should do these things, and I think that we have the opportunity, hopefully, that we can challenge them to do that. Unfortunately, we can't attach that to this because this is something that we're trying to do as kind of an incentive.
And I'd say, let's continue the conversation and potentially look at some other legislation that we can work with Standard and Trimont, because I still believe Standard parking is taking advantage of this community.
Well,
and we need to make sure that we take steps to alleviate that.
I see this as just the start, and I see we could introduce other programs, other discounts, and other things in the future. But this is a good start, and we're trying to start at the two areas where the public and businesses have spoken the loudest, which is especially on Saturdays and 5 to 7. I should also note that Standard has announced, and they announced today, a series of other initiatives, including a retraining of all the parking enforcement folks as ambassadors, new uniforms, new Ask Me, help for help buttons. They're going to carry city maps. There's going to be a 5-minute grace period. There's going to be an attempt to, to work with people and help show them how to use Pango or show them how to use the meters. We can ask, why didn't this happen from day one? And that's a perfectly reasonable thing to ask. But from our perspective, we are trying to do everything we possibly can to improve the system now. And unless we have a healthy, positive system and good experiences for people, it really hurts all of us, including the residents.
Thank you, Mayor.
Is that it? Okay. Ms. Daniels?
I guess I was I had to think about this quite a bit after last night's meeting when we had not last night, Monday night's meeting when we were discussing this. So I looked up some of the demographic information that I was asking about and all of that. And so I wanted us to separate this provision of the budget because I don't feel comfortable voting for it. I understand the money, the pool of money that it's coming from is the hotel and tourism money, which, you know, it has its limited purposes. Our goal is to attract people, et cetera, et cetera. But the way I see this proposal is that standard parking had this business model that didn't work, and or it's not working very well. And what the city is trying to do now is come up with some method of making this business model work by coming up with these incentives, the 5 to 7 incentive as well as the Pango weekend incentive. The thing is, in that model, two things happen. One, standard parking itself isn't the one readjusting itself to, and I understand that there are constraints on to what extent they can readjust themselves, but the risk of their bad business models is borne by the residents. And I know that in the end, either way, whether we bear it now or we bear it a few years from now, it will be the residents of the city who will bear the cost of bad business practices by standard parking. But it's very disparate how the risk is borne the way it's proposed now, right? Right now, the reduced parking rate will go to the folks who are the 5 to 7 people. And, you know, I mentioned this yesterday about, you know, concern for low-income folks. Our parking rates are so high that low-income folks are really just not coming into the downtown area during parking hours unless they absolutely have to. So, so it's really an issue for those who are currently using, you know, who can currently use parking in the downtown area. And when I looked up the data for Scranton, so the 5 to 7 people, you know, they'll be the 5 to 7 people, but the Saturday people will be the people who use Pango. And the Scranton data shows that the seniors didn't use Pango at all, so they never benefited from using Pango. And I know from, you know, I've spoke to a few of my friends to see what happens, and they've just definitively said they're not, you know, they don't come into the city, and they're not going to come into the city for a Pango type of incentive. So what I see happening is that in our effort to try to remedy or fix this business practice, what we're doing is, in the long term, every resident in Harrisburg will suffer the consequences of standard parking's bad business practice. But by doing it the way we're doing it now, it's really just the people who wouldn't use Pango or just the people who aren't here, that 5 to 7 time frame, that will be the ones who will be bearing that risk. So I don't, because of the disparate way in which this is working, I don't feel comfortable supporting it. And, you know, and it's plausible that we could use that $285,000 for other things that may attract non-residents. We could have a dog park in the city, and that would attract people because there are so few in the area. So I understand what the mayor is trying to do. I understand what standard parking was trying to do. I just don't feel good about it.
Well, I'll just say I don't fully understand the logic, but I respect your opinion. I would say that we have a bad situation, and we are trying to make it better. And good government is about taking bad situations and trying to make them better. We can all wish that other people would make things better, but the reality is it's within our power to make things better for businesses, for residents, for people that want to visit the city, and we should step up and do that.
Is that all, Ms. Daniels? Is that all?
Yeah.
Okay. Anything, Mr. Baltimore? No. Okay. Anyone else?
I have one more comment.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, you said that subsidizing the parking benefits the city. The city benefits by having safe, clean neighborhoods that have paved streets and working streetlights. Standard's incentive is that they have a lease for their parking. You're saying that taking a bad situation and making it better. Mr. Mayor, all I see you doing is taking money and throwing at a bad problem. That's not how you correct the problem, by throwing money at it. It's their business. They need to work on their business model, and if you want to benefit the residents, they come downtown because they have to go pay their water meter, or not the water meter, their taxes, or if they have to go to the courthouse. They're during the daytime hours. They're not here from 5 to 7. The residents are not here from 5 to 7. They're the ones that's coming downtown because they have to stop and they have to go to the courthouse, or they have to come downtown to do some actual official business. Those are the residents. So if you really want to do a model that's benefiting the residents, 5 to 7 is not it. That's all I have.
Well, look, again, I would say that the residents benefit from having a healthy parking system that generates revenue for the city. And we can use that revenue to hire more people in public works and to do things. This is not an either-or. You should not see this as an either-or. You either do this or you fix potholes. We're actively out fixing potholes. This is a both and. We need to do both at the same time. We need to do whatever we can to assist in the city's recovery. So don't see that. We can still do a dog park, Councilwoman Daniels, if you'd like to do that. And we can continue to do what we're doing every day, which is out there cold patching the potholes. And as you know, as soon as the asphalt plants open, we'll be able to do permanent fix for those. This is a pretty much a standard yearly occurrence, but we have crews out on a regular basis. Let's do both, and let's recognize that the city's finances are dependent on a healthy parking system.
I appreciate all of that, Mr. Mayor, but I'm more concerned about the fact, yeah, I know the potholes will get fixed because they're going to get fixed. I'm more concerned with the fact that you have not driven up and down a lot of these alleys that are overrun with trash, neighborhood after neighborhood after neighborhood after neighborhood after neighborhood. And if you see, and you actually take the time to go out to these neighborhoods and see how bad they are, this would not even be on your agenda.
We can do multiple things at once, and we have to.
Okay. You done?
Yep.
Are you done? Okay. Any other comments?
Well, Neil, how do we separate out the bill?
Well,
What do
wait
we do?
before you do that. I'm waiting for additional comments.
Okay.
Since you didn't have any, then
Sorry.
I'll say something. I know everyone's upset about what the mayor has put on the agenda as far as trying to do an incentive for the residents. As council members, we sat here and we were just bogged down with $600 million worth of debt. It was almost 700 pages of reading the parking standard agreement in the settlement. Sure, we thought we did our due diligence. We read everything that we could. We asked all the necessary questions. And sure, we might have made a few mistakes. And in making those mistakes, we didn't catch those till this year or last year. We did not know what was going to become of our agreement with the parking. So here we are today, and we look at our streets, and our streets are empty. We have nobody at our parking meters. When we have nobody at our parking meters, we get no money, no revenue whatsoever into the city of Harrisburg. So actually what we're doing is a trial basis. We have to have some kind of incentive to bring the people back to the city of Harrisburg, whether it be for the night hours of 5 to 7, whether it be on a Saturday. Now, realistically, I'm down here on Saturday, but I have the advantage of a parking space here. But I do come down here on Saturday. So some of the residents do come down here in the city of Harrisburg. But we have to do something to make sure that we give back, whether it be outside of the city or whether it be in the city with the residents. We have to do something because standard parking is not moving to try to do anything for the residents. So I know you're disturbed, Ms. Smith, but I should have.
We get a chance to talk
No,
since you
no,
all
ma'am, no,
did
ma'am,
all this?
no, ma'am. You've already made your statement, and I'm
See,
sorry.
it's
And I'm
Kind of not
sorry.
fair because you brought up some things that I'd like to respond
Well,
to if I can.
Okay. I will make an exception today for you. Is that okay? Generally, excuse me, generally, I don't do that, but let me finish saying what I need to say. So me and the mayor, generally don't agree on a lot of issues. We debate a lot. But I think this is a good incentive for the resident of the city of Harrisburg. I don't know where we are on the revenue basis as far as whether we're going to lose a lot of money or we're going to lose more than $285,000. But I would say to the residents, give us an opportunity to try this on a trial basis. I would like to see this done maybe on a year, and then after that, come back to the table. And if it's not working, we take it off the table.
It's 9 months. That's right.
Okay.
And if I could, It's not gonna be $285,000, because
No,
then
no,
nobody would
nobody.
come in.
No, it's
during
not
those times on
285,000, but we
Saturdays.
allocated that much.
So, I mean, it still may be not an insignificant amount of money, but it certainly won't be 285 or even 185, and certainly hopefully not 85.
We just thought it was
So,
fiscally responsible to
give
give
you
you the
that opportunity.
worst-case scenario, just so that we have that out there, but it's truly a worst-case scenario. It's not going to be nearly that much, and hopefully, the center, the system will generate more parkers, more people will come down to park than ever before. So that's certainly the goal, and then
And
we
they
could
certainly
lead
want
that
to come down to the city.
to future.
They want to. People, residents and individuals outside of the city want to come to the city, but when they see the $3, they don't come. So maybe this is a way of trying to attract them to come back into the city. So let's give it a chance and let's see what happens. Mr. Polinsky, anything else? Okay. Ms. Smith, a minute. 1 minute.
1 minute, okay. Whew. First of all, we're a third-class city.
Sure, we know that.
And when I hear a businessman saying we should experiment, we are talking about public money, people. We should not be experimenting with public money.
Okay.
The reason why we're in the mess we're in now is because of all the experiments that we did for 20 years. Third-class city, we should not be experimenting with the public's money. Thank you.
You're welcome. But with this experiment, we have transparency, okay? We didn't have transparency with the other experiments. You had your minute. You had your minute. You had your minute. We are making sure that we are making sure that we control. So, wait a minute, sir. We both can't talk and speak at the same time. Give me an opportunity, okay, to speak first. We are making sure that we have control over this. Before, we had no control because we had no knowledge of all those deals and experiments that were taking place. This council does do their jobs. They investigate, they research, they do their due diligence as a council member. So keep in mind, we are going to be watching closely the revenues of this city.
Thank you.
Mr. Boyd, 1 minute.
Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity once again. There's an old saying, Jack and Jill went up the hill, but what about you? All I like to say in my conclusion is, we talk a good game here, but there's so much filth and dirt. This mayor came and he rode the white horse here to say he would take care of blight in this city. Took care of the dirt, there would be no problem. Honorable Mayor, I'm still looking at him and saying, when will that happen? Congratulations, my sister. You brought something out that I needed to hear. The mayor said we can take care of that. He would rather have a dog park than to take care of the homeless of this great city. I needed to hear that. Congratulations, Mayor.
Okay. Well, thank you.
And thank you.
Okay. Anyone else?
Yeah, I just want to make a comment. Since this is an experiment, what we do need to make sure of in 2016, and I won't be here, but I'll be sitting on the other side and knocking on quite a few doors. We cannot afford for Standard Parking to think that they can come back here in 2016 and not have a solution to the problem. As you said, this is an experiment, and I hope that this experiment works to the plus for the city, because if it doesn't, they're going to have to do a lot of modifications with the deal that's presently on the table. And so in 2016, I'll be standing on the other side asking the question, where are you going to get the money to support it if, in fact, you don't see the revenue taking place?
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
Thank you.
Mayor?
That's it.
You're welcome. Anyone else? Okay. We have a motion to go back into, oh, I'm sorry. Anything else on the budget reallocation? On the budget reallocation, before I go back into,
Madam President, just, I believe that Ms. Daniels had the question. I think we probably ought to do it while we're in
okay, I'm
suspension.
sorry, yes, you're right.
If a council member wishes to make an amendment to this particular bill because it has 8 different exhibits, and some of them have subparts, the member would have to make a motion when the bill is read as amended into the record, and get a second on it to any particular part or subpart that they would like removed. So for example, if there was an Exhibit J, we would say move Exhibit J, but if you only wanted to take J1 out, you would say J1 and what subject matter. You'd have to get a second on that motion as an amendment, and then get 4 votes for that amendment to it. So that would be the process. You can bring them any way you wish, as one at a time. Ms. Reed, if you wanted to bring all 3 at one time or make them one at a time, however you want to do it, in order to get, to propose the amendment. That would be the process.
Thank you, Mr. Grover. I do have one question on the Walk to Work program. I'd like to know, and maybe Mr. Weber, you could answer this, or anyone else in your administration, what percentage of employees are grandfathered in? And what percentage live outside the city? And what percentage live in the city that work for us, for the city of Harrisburg presently? Can you give me those answers? And you don't have to do it
I don't,
tonight.
that's
If
not
you know
exactly
that
related to
offhand,
the
it's
Walk to
fine.
Work program, but yeah, it would be interesting to know how many employees live within the city and how many do not. I do not know that information, but I bet we could get it.
Okay.
I mean, I don't think we actually have that aggregated. We'd have to
We might.
probably go look at every single employee file and sort of make a note of that.
Well, you want to
So-
introduce this program as an incentive for individuals who work for the city of Harrisburg to buy a home in the city. So obviously, to introduce this program, you must know what percentage of, that you're looking at that you wanted to introduce it from. Because alone, under the CDBG money, we have certain nonprofit agencies that we have that have housing programs, and as an incentive, they go through a training process. They give up to $5,000, $6,000 for closing costs.
Yes.
And we, the city of Harrisburg, allocates that money to the nonprofit agency. So my question is, you wanted this program to be for the city of Harrisburg employees who work here, so don't you have an idea of what employees are grandfathered in at this point? Because if they're grandfathered in, I'm sure they're not going to move into the city because of a $2,000 closing cost incentive.
I'm not sure, Madam President, I understand what you mean by grandfathered.
Those who are already grandfathered in, when we, before we, the unions, before we made the resolutions for the unions to allocate that everybody could live outside the city, I mean, they didn't have to live in the city. So what are you using as a percentage-wise statistically that you would want $2,000 to give for closing costs? What percentage of employees?
Grandfathered in might be a little misleading because they aren't required to live in the city.
Right,
So
right, they're not
they
required to
could-
live in the city
And
anymore because
also,
they made that
as came up
resolution.
when we had the hearing, this would be available to people that live in the city but want to buy a primary residence in the city.
So
Let's
this
say
is just
they-
not for city employees?
No, this is for city employees, but let's say you have a city employee who rents.
Like me.
They want to buy a house. That would work. Or you have a city employee that, well, sure, yes, it's for city employees that want to buy a home, a primary residence in the city of Harrisburg.
So we have
So-
560 employees,
And,
No, 300.
300 now?
About 400,
Oh, we
400.
have 400 now, okay, because we went down 100 when, under the other administration, okay. You cannot tell me the percentage of employees who are not presently living in homes here, that when you looked at this, you had to look at this in order to incorporate this resolution, that you would know a percentage of employees who would want to take advantage of this program.
I do not know what percentage of employees live currently within the city of Harrisburg. All I know is that when council voted to remove the residency requirement, we no longer require that of employees, so we don't require that as part of the application process. So theoretically, people that used to live in the city could have moved out of the city. When we hire people, it's a great bonus if they live in the city, but it's not a requirement. And this is a ways, hopefully, to give a little bit of an added incentive to encourage them to live in the city, which I think is a really good thing. Also, we're asking other businesses to step up and do this. Pinnacle has done it. I've asked FIA to contemplate a similar program. We began some conversations with Capital Region Water. I think the city needs to lead by example. If we're going to ask other businesses in the city to offer an incentive for their employees to work in, to buy a home in the city, we ought to lead by example. And remember, also, this is not, you have to live in the home for 5 years before you're forgiven. So this is sort of a loan that turns into a grant after you've lived in this primary residence in the city of Harrisburg for multiple years. So we're we're protected. And it's really a modest amount, a very small amount, but it might make the difference between somebody thinking about buying a home in the city or elsewhere, and we'd like them to choose living in Harrisburg. It's a wonderful place to own a home.
Well, let me just be very honest with you. I wasn't in favor of the resolution that the unions asked for to allow them not to live in the city, because I think if you work for, I agree with Ms. Reed, if you work for the city of Harrisburg, you should live in the city of Harrisburg. I agree it's a great incentive, but I just wanted to make sure that, from my perspective, when I vote on this, what percentage of employees are ready. I just need to know that from my information alone, that already live, that don't live outside the city and do live in the city, that would take advantage, just to get an idea, because you allocated $50,000.
I don't know the answer, but I do know that since we mentioned this program as something that we wanted to do last year, we've had many inquiries within the city from individuals. So we know there is demand. We know there are people right now that work for the city of Harrisburg that would love to buy a home in the city of Harrisburg, and they're sort of hoping that it's a positive incentive to offer employees.
Oh, I certainly agree it's a positive incentive, but also we, as the city of Harrisburg, we also have nonprofit agencies that we allocate money under the CDBG money that give $5,000, $6,000 for closing costs. I see you have your hand up.
Yeah, please.
Fair Housing Council. You go through their training program, they give you additional money for closing costs.
Correct, and they can, you can actually piggyback on that, but the first-time homebuyers program is means tested. So you have to be eligible, an eligible qualified candidate and fall into a low to moderate income basis. It can't be just any resident can go into first-time homebuyers. It has to be a qualified, means tested individual. And I think what Bruce's point is that we have many residents or employees of the city who are renting. We have employees of the city who say, you know what, I'd really like to, now I'm having children, I don't want to move outside the city, I really would like to have a home in the city, and this is going to be a great incentive. If they are also means tested, then they can actually add on to the first-time home buyers program. And then if they're an employee of the city and they qualify, then they can get more money for down payment assistance.
That's fine, but, and as you said here, stating that, indicating that there's renters here, I just asked for a percentage of, statistic. You don't know offhand?
You don't know.
You don't know?
No, I don't know how many people are, but what your question was is how many of our employees live in the city. But I'm saying anybody, any employee, whether they live in the city, whether they rent, they live outside, any employee is eligible, anyone. So I don't really know.
And is there data that would track our employees who would rent anyway? There's probably not.
I mean, we'd
is
have to
there? go
through, like Bruce was saying, we'd have to go through each one and find out. But what I'm saying is any employee, whether they live here or...
Whether you have data or not, you put $50,000, and I think it might exceed that because the amount of employees that we have for $2,000. That's what I'm saying,
If we have so much demand, let's say we have 25 employees.
Well, she indicated that
Yeah.
there's individual employees here that are renters that would like to now.
Then I think we
be
come back to
home
council and say,
buyers.
council, we've incentivized 25 city employees to buy a
Okay.
primary residence in the city of Harrisburg. This is working so well. Will you
Okay.
consider authorizing additional funds? So
Okay.
we'd be back to you for that.
Okay. Anything, you have a question? Go ahead.
Yes, I do. All of your non-union employees that you've brought in, Mr. Mayor, first of all, they came in making higher wages than the previous administration. Then you made sure in this budget year, you gave them all increases. So for you to come here and basically say that these people need help getting to incentivize them so that they can purchase a home, if they wanted to purchase a home in Susquehanna Township, Lower Paxton Township, Hershey, Hummelstown, Carlisle, they'll go to their mortgage and they'll get a mortgage and they'll put that down payment on. Why in the world should we be subsidizing anybody? You got $50,000 to spend, take that $50,000 and clean up your alleys. We don't need to be paying, we're already paying their salary.
But just remember, this is for all employees, including unionized employees, including those
Take that $50,000 and clean up your city. Your city is filthy.
We need more homeowners in the city to generate taxes to pay for the things that we
Who's
need to
moving
do.
in if the neighborhoods are overrun with trash? Y'all need to get outside of the bubble of downtown and midtown and go outside and really take a look at what I'm looking at. I'm not making this up.
I'm not saying you're making it up, but it's not saying
People
that
have
one
to
is
learn
more
how to take
important
care
over
of
the
their own
other.
property, though, Sandra.
Granted,
They're both
People have to
important.
learn how to take care of their own property.
then you need to take that $50,000 and put it into education for people to modify, to make sure that they're doing their taking care of their properties. Giving employees that already make a higher wage, the median income of the residents in Harrisburg is $35,000. Most of the employees of the city of Harrisburg make more than that.
Okay. Okay, with that, Ms. Reed, you asked for a separate
For
Voting on
Appendix B
pen-
and
yes.
Appendix G.
Appendix B.
God, help her.
G, there's two items in G.
Yeah, there's-
So it'd be just for parking, or is it GB?
I'm sorry, okay, the GB, I apologize.
I don't think we're back in session.
Oh,
we're not.
No,
We're
no, no,
not.
before I do that, I just needed to know before we did that, yeah. We're still under
Great.
discussion. So Appendix B,
Did I miss?
So B would be the city walk
Walk
to
to
work
work program.
program.
That's correct.
And G would be, there's A, litigation, and B, parking. So it'd be, so
It'd
you
be
would
the
want
parking.
Appendix B and Appendix G.
so you're going to separate those two?
There has to be a motion when you're in session to separate.
No, I know. But I want to,
Litigation for past legal
want to make
service.
sure that we do,
Appendix B and
that
Appendix.
I understand what she wants to do.
G. B and G.
So what do you want to do on G?
B and G slash B.
So we can't,
Appendix B, Appendix GB,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Appendix GB.
Yeah,
That's-
G little b, yeah. Because you got a big B that you want to look at too.
Okay. Okay. That's it? Oh, you said three.
no, I'm just gonna do those
Okay,
two.
all right. I have a motion to go back into,
So move.
a second?
Second.
Thank you. Back into regular session. So, Ms. Reed, do you want to make the motion?
I think first you have to have them read into the record, the existing resolution.
He
Madam
did read
Yeah,
President.
right.
He
Oh, you
read
did
it
it?
in the record.
I've lost track of that.
Okay. He read it in the record. So,
I'd like to make a motion that we
vote
vote
separate.
on, separately on Appendix G, small b,
Okay.
and making the motion to vote separately on Appendix B.
Okay. Questions and comments on the motion?
Here's the second.
Oh, I'm sorry, second? Second? Can I get a second?
Second.
To vote separately
On
on
Appendix G,
Appendix GB
small
and
b,
Appendix B.
and Appendix B.
Wait, I'm confused. G and B.
So Charmaine, you would have a separate amendment if you wanted to
Okay.
make one specifically for GB. Sandra's proposing two different amendments,
No, I'm just
B
proposing
and
to vote
GB,
separately.
to vote separately.
Sorry, I'm having trouble picking up the letters. So the
So
ones
so
that
B
you
is
said
the city walk to work program.
Okay.
So she's
B?
proposing to vote separately on both of them. So
Okay.
that's one out of the two of your proposed amendments.
Okay.
So
It just don't-
Appendix G, okay, Appendix G, small b, is the promotional parking,
Yeah,
okay? Appendix large B is the walk to work.
okay.
And the motion is to make, so that we can vote on them separately.
Vote on them separate. So she's made a motion.
Point of clarification, Councilwoman Reed, are you asking for a vote on each, so basically two votes on those, one for B and one for G? Or are you asking to have a vote where you have everything else and then a second vote for just those two?
Pretty much, just a separate vote for those two.
To
We can vote on
combined.
all of the rest of them together.
So we'd have two votes, and then as opposed if we did, or
No,
three
you have
votes?
three
You have
votes. You're going to
three
do
votes.
three
So
votes.
you want to do each of those two
Right.
individually?
You will have,
You have the regular reallocation, then you have the Appendix B, large B,
And
then the
Appendix-
Appendix G, small b.
that's correct.
So that's three.
That's all, I'm just clarifying which,
Okay.
what vote you're asking for.
Okay. So do I have a second on Sandra's motion? You have-
Yes, second.
Okay. Questions and comments on the motion, please? Please call the vote.
So this would be calling the vote on the motion for B and GB? Is that how we're doing it, or are we just doing it? Okay. So this would be for,
So we need to do it one at a time, though.
So this would
because
be-
She wants it separate.
she's saying them both together, so if we're doing one motion for her, and if Charmaine wants to propose a
No,
separate
you're going
motion
to,
for her.
I think This motion has to, I believe the motion as articulated by Ms. Reed is to pull them both and vote on them each individually. I think
Okay.
that's her motion.
Okay,
That's
that's fine.
one
That-
motion.
right.
Okay, so calling the vote for that motion, Mr. Allett,
No.
Mr. Baltimore,
Yes.
Ms. Daniels,
Yes.
Mr. Kaplinski,
Yes.
Ms. Reed?
What, on your motion?
So you're
Oh, we're
voting for
voting on the
yes.
motion, yes. I'm sorry, I didn't know if we were voting on the actual
This is just to pull
thing.
them out and accept it.
Ms.
Okay,
Wilson.
That's fine.
No.
Ms. Williams?
Yes.
And the motion carries.
Okay,
Okay.
that's fine. I
Now,
got confused.
on Resolution 9, we're voting on the proposed reallocation with the exception of Appendix Large B and Appendix G, Small b. Is there any questions or comments on Resolution 9? Please call the vote.
So this would be the motion for
Resolution
B.
9, right.
No, no,
resolution-
this will be for A, C, D, E, F, and H,
Yeah, thank you.
and GA. Okay,
Okay,
all
Okay,
right.
thank you.
besides the two, okay.
Okay, it'll be everything, yeah.
Everything
okay.
except, I said everything with the
Here.
exception of
Here.
Appendix Large B
Okay,
and Appendix Large G with the B, Small b,
okay.
okay?
Mr. Allett,
Yes.
Mr. Baltimore,
Yes.
Ms. Daniels,
Yes.
Mr. Kaplinski,
Yes.
Ms. Reed,
Yes,
Ms. Wilson,
Yes.
Ms. Williams.
Yes,
Okay.
okay. Now, please call the vote for Appendix Large B.
Technically, it would be Resolution 9.
Resolution 9, Appendix Large B, which is the Walk to Work program.
Resolution 9, Large B, Walk to Work Program. Mr. Allett,
Yes.
Mr. Baltimore,
Yes.
Ms. Daniels,
Yes.
Mr. Kaplinski,
Yes.
Ms. Reed,
no,
Ms. Wilson,
Yes.
Ms. Williams.
Yes,
Motion carries.
thank you. Now, please call the vote for Appendix G, Small b. and that
Resolution
is-
9.
Resolution 9,
Okay.
G small b.
Okay, Resolution 9, Appendix G, I'm sorry. Okay. Resolution 9, Appendix G, Small b, which
Mr.
is the promotional parking subsidy.
Mr. Allett,
Yes.
Mr. Baltimore,
Yes.
Ms. Daniels,
No.
Mr. Kaplinski,
Yes.
Ms. Reed,
no,
Ms. Wilson,
Yep.
Ms. Williams.
Yes,
Motion carries.
thank you. Anything else on Resolution 9?
No.
All right.
paying them $2,000 so they can move back to the dance.
Sounds good.
Okay. Moving on to Resolution 21. Mr.,
Or 16.
oh, did I forget? Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
Resolution
Oh, I
16.
forgot 16. Okay, so you had me so, wow, Resolution 9. Resolution 16, 2015. Please read that in the record, Mr. Petrosky.
Resolution 16 of 2015 was moved by Ms. Williams, seconded by Mr. Allett. It's a resolution approving a professional services agreement with Trout, Ebersol, and Groff LLP, CPAs, and business advisors to conduct a reconciliation of the city's workers' compensation liability, compensated absence liability, and post-employment benefit obligation accounts.
Is there any questions or comments on Resolution 16? Mr. Allett, is there anything additional?
No.
Anything, Ms. Reed or Mr. Koblinski or anyone? Okay, please call the vote.
Mr. Allett,
Yes.
Mr. Baltimore,
Yes.
Ms. Daniels,
Yes.
Mr. Kaplinski,
Yes.
Ms. Reed,
Yes,
Ms. Wilson,
Yes.
Ms. Williams.
Yes.
Resolution 16 passes.
Thank you. Moving on to Resolution 21 of 2015, please read that into record.
Resolution 21 of 2015 was moved by Ms. Daniels, seconded by Ms. Williams. It's a resolution approving the zoning code amendment request submitted by the City of Harrisburg to change the public notice requirements of 7-323.5C of the zoning code regarding requests for special exceptions and variances. 1, to clarify that applicants are responsible for notifying surrounding property owners of a special exception and variance requests by first-class letter. 2, to change the existing text which requires notification of properties owners within a 300 feet radius of the boundary of the subject property to instead require notification to all adjacent and budding property owners. And 3, to require applicants to provide proof of mailing to show that adjacent and abutting property owners have been notified of the request.
That will be placed in Building and Housing. Moving on to Resolution 22.
Resolution 22 of 2015 was moved by Ms. Daniels, seconded by Ms. Williams. It's a resolution approving the zoning map amendment request submitted by the City of Harrisburg to change the zoning designation of two parcels located at 141 Oakwood Road and 2312 Oakwood Road from residential low-density RL zoning to open space recreation OSR.
That also will be placed in Building and Housing. Moving on to Resolution 23 of 2015.
Resolution 23 of 2015 was moved by Ms. Daniels, seconded by Ms. Williams. It's a resolution approving the zoning code amendment request submitted by the City of Harrisburg to change Section 7-309.2 RR1 of the zoning code, which establishes specific criteria for operation of treatment center to be permitted by right in certain zoning districts to replace the word residents with the word patients to make the text consistent with the definition of treatment centers in Section 7-3.2260 of the zoning code, which defines treatment centers as a non-residential facility.
That also will be placed in Building and Housing. Moving on to Resolution 24.
Resolution 24, 2015 was moved by Ms. Daniels, seconded by Ms. Williams. It's a resolution approving the zoning code amendment request submitted by the City of Harrisburg to add a condition to Sections 7-309.2Q and 7-309.2R of the zoning code related to specific criteria for convenience stores and convenience stores with gas dispensing to require the placement of trash and recycling receptacles in front of convenience stores with and without gas dispensing for use by patrons.
That will be a joint meeting with Building and Housing and Public Works. Moving on to Resolution 26.
Resolution 26 of 2015 was moved by Ms. Williams, seconded by Ms. Reed. It's a resolution authorizing the city engineer to submit applications for traffic signal approval to the Pennsylvania Department of Transportation, or PennDOT, for traffic signal control system upgrades at various street intersections throughout the city of Harrisburg.
I have a motion to suspend the rules. Thank you. I have a first and second.
Second.
Mr. Martin.
Madam President, council members, thank you first for agreeing to suspend the rules. I apologize for the delay in getting this to you. It didn't come to my attention that PennDOT was going to require this until late last week. Before you is Resolution 26 of 2015. That's the resolution authorizing me to sign applications with the Department of Transportation for them to improve 8 intersections along Cameron Street. There's a project that they're going to put out for bid. They're paying for everything. They've already completed the design. It's safety improvements along the entire Cameron Street corridor. And since it's a state road, but the city is responsible for the maintenance of those signaled intersections. And within the project scope are safety improvements to those intersections. So these applications deal specifically with us authorizing those improvements to be made. PennDOT rules require the governing body to authorize the signing of the applications.
Okay, where is this located again?
This is Cameron Street. The intersections are Market Street, Elmerton Ave, Her Street, Sycamore Street, Azalea Drive, that's the Farm Show Complex.
Sure.
Calder Street, Paxton Street, and Arsenal Boulevard, McClay Street.
Okay. So they would be upgrading all the traffic controls there?
Within the resolution is exactly what they're doing. For example, installation of back plates, certain,
On
for sun.
the light,
Yeah, for
right.
sun. Overhead signs, so there'll be street signs that tell
Okay.
you on the signal pole which street is the cross street. Pedestrian push buttons and signs, countdown signals so that pedestrians know how long they have to cross the street. Contrast lane use pavement markings, so that, that's a concrete road. Sometimes the yellow doesn't pop. So what they'll be doing is painting a black line on the concrete and then the lane markings so
Sure.
that the
Okay.
yellow pops. And then modifications of the existing crosswalks and retiming of those signals.
Okay. Any other questions, council
Yeah, I got a
members?
question for him. Are they going to, at those intersections, put signs up that tell traffic not to block the throughway as they're turning? Because it creates a problem. And I know you've been down there studying it, because I've called plenty of times about the traffic at Cameron and Cameron and McClay, when you're coming down Austin Boulevard, where the traffic, they dead stop in the middle. So you sit there while it's green, and they block the intersection. So if they're gonna do that whole way from Sycamore all the way down to Elmerton, they need to tell the traffic, no matter which way you're turning, north, south, east, or west, that you should not block the intersections with the flow, from the flow of traffic, because it prohibits the other traffic that might want to go across in either direction. It just doesn't flow, and then your traffic's backed up. And when the state lets out here, it's hectic at that, especially at that
Chaotic.
intersection. And they do it quite frequently, and they've been doing it for the last couple weeks. And so I would hope that they would put signage up as well that says, no blocking at the intersections as you're making that turn, if in fact you don't have a clear throughway, please.
I don't know, all signage obviously has to be approved by Federal Highway Administration before we
understand.
put it up. I don't know if there's a sign. I know, I obviously have studied the problem that you're explaining. Full disclosure, the state recommended changing some timings to improve the flow
Sure.
on Cameron.
Right.
It's causing the problem where McClay traffic turning left is blocking the intersection.
Oh, I know, I've sat in
Okay, you've
4
seen it.
lights.
Yeah.
You can't get through, and what happens is it's going to be a terrible accident there,
Yep.
because when they come from the state, they stay there. They don't move. They just stay and they block you.
Stuck. So,
A lot of that, don't take this the wrong way, but a lot of that's behavioral. There's an expectation of people who
And then I
travel.
think we should have a cop
that's why
there
the
to
sign
control
should be up
that.
there that tells them not to block the intersection, and if they're caught blocking it, they should get ticketed.
Yeah.
I don't disagree with that. I will say that
Maybe we should,
It's crazy.
maybe we should do a survey. We should have a patrolman there.
He's been out there.
Has he?
Yeah, they've been out
When
there.
the
Because
police
I know the
officers
state
there, they
troop-
don't do it.
Yeah,
Pardon me?
When the police officers there, they don't block the intersection.
Yeah.
Yeah.
we cite them
Yeah,
for
yeah.
blocking?
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
traffic violation.
Well, I know the
It's a
state
traffic
troopers have
violation.
been there, and they've done some ticketing, but
And the school buses are the worst violators, Madam President. I've
Sure.
studied it. I cannot believe it, but the school buses are.
School buses.
Are running red lights. Yep,
The school buses.
right.
worst violators. But I will say, we are changing the timing
Okay.
on the other intersections to alleviate that problem.
Okay. Because
I
when you
hope
come
to
off
do it next week.
Arsenal Boulevard, the light goes 1, 2, and it changes, and those people, it's a backup. It's okay. You maybe just want to,
Yep.
is there anything else? So they just want you want the
I want-
council to give you permission to do the applications, is that why?
Yes.
Great, okay. Any other questions, comments? Okay, no questions? All right. Thank you, Mr. Martin.
Thank you.
Oh, when are they going to start this?
They want to submit it to their, the design to their contracting department. I expect it to start late in the summer, after
Okay.
the bid period.
Oh, okay, okay. Thank you. Motion to go back into session?
So moved.
Thank you. I have a first and second. We're back into session. Resolution 26. No additional questions or comments? Please call the vote.
Mr. Allett?
Yes.
Mr. Baltimore?
Yes.
Ms. Daniels?
Yes.
Mr. Kaplinski?
Yes.
Ms. Reed?
Yes.
Ms. Wilson?
Yes.
Ms. Williams?
Yes.
Resolution 26 passes.
Moving on to old business, council members. Any old business today? Hearing none. New business, council members?
I just have one.
Yes.
I just actually wanted to congratulate our colleague on City Council, Shemaine Daniels, for being recognized by the YWCA as a Woman of Excellence this year at a ceremony last night.
Thank you. Congratulations. Thank you, Mr. Alley. You took that away from me.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to steal your thunder.
Okay. Any other new business?
I do. Madam President, thank you. Want to commend the mayor for writing a letter to our county commissioners today regarding money that we thought and currently hope and believe may still be available from the county and other sources to take care of the 52 homes that have been affected by the sinkhole on the 1400 block of South 14th Street. He issued a letter today going through the process over the last few months in which he asked and conferred with the commissioners saying that money was there to be applied for, and now it appears that at a meeting yesterday that it may not be there. So anything that I can do, this council can do to help push that towards the county and help them encourage what they appears to be well over $1 million, and in some ways $2 million still available for CDBG-DR funds. I'm sure, hope I speak for my colleagues in offering our support and help for this issue.
Okay. Thank you. Anyone else?
No, just the building and housing meeting will be April 16th.
What time?
Oh, 5:30?
5:30?
Yeah.
Okay. Anyone else? No meeting, Mr. Koblinski?
Sure. April 2nd, next Thursday, there'll be a joint meeting of Public Safety and Community and Economic Development on the issue of the Bakken crude oil trains traveling through the city and then around the city. We'll have representatives from the train companies, Norfolk Southern, various officials from the state, and hopefully the federal government, as well as first responder, including our fire chief, at that time, at 5:30.
Okay. Anything else, new business? Hearing none, may I have a motion to adjourn, please? We have a first and a second, meeting's adjourned.